What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as Ridemyavatar, and today we're going to go over one of the best green decks in the format, I think, and that is none other than the best of the best, and that is Green Hybrid. I really think once security control has been phased out, because now we have Tamer galore that we can just Digivolve on top of while threatening lethal, is ridiculous. We are now such a very powerhouse heavy deck, and I feel like options aren't going to be enough to stop this deck. So guys, let's dive into this video and see what we have in store for you. Wanting to play a deck that is completely control plus aggro in all in one, this might be the deck you want to try out. Green Hybrid is extremely explosive this time around. This deck has pretty much nerfed its one major weakness in the format early on, I gotta say. So it allowed it to now be able to play the game without having to worry about security control, just trying to shut it down. That was its biggest weakness ever, was decks with high-end, removal costs. Being able to remove your Digimon before you could clear out their security was such a problem for this deck. And with recovery not as strongly removal heavy this time around, we have a better shot because we have a lot of new support in this deck that just lets us play it out. Other weaknesses this has is this deck has 0 ways to remove threats without resting them themselves and swinging into them. None of their options really kill anything or send back the deck. So it's got a little weaker in the sense that most decks just remove whenever they want. So keep that in mind. And then the deck relies so heavily on JP. If you don't see it, this will struggle for your win con. But if you see your tamers at the right time, you could definitely win game very easily with this. What is some of this deck's strengths, though? We'll talk about it. Green is known for being able to Digivolve for cheap costs, meaning that's where the aggro comes in. So a lot of your Digimon are coming in for cheaper evolutions, so your opponent can't choke you out as easily as it used to. So if things cost you 3, it'll cost you 2 or even 1, and now your opponent isn't able to choke you correctly because you can skip the evolution costs that would cost us games because we were playing too slow. But also, what really makes this deck very fun is that it's a very easy pick up and play kind of style deck. Out of all the other decks, this deck has the least convoluted ways of playing, and it's very easy to know, I'm just going to Digivolve up, play it for cheaper, keep climbing, swing in, boom, boom, boom. Most of your boss Digimons are very powerful Digimon in themselves. And then being able to get to your boss easier for Evo cost is really important, and that's what sets us apart from most of the other decks in this format, is that we don't care about going to a level 7 because by level 6 we should be having a way of winning the game or controlling you slowing you down to a point where it doesn't matter what you try to do. You're kind of in a lose-lose situation. So keep this in mind when deck building. Certain cards in this deck will play vital roles, and we're going to go over that shortly. So let's really go into it. The main card engines of this deck is about 24 to 26 cards in-house archetype. So most of this came from BT7 and BT6. So combining them in makes a very powerful synergy that will help us out. They all synergize extremely well together. They don't clash, anything like that. So that makes it super viable for us, leaving us about either up to 26 to 24 cards, depending on how you build your deck. And that'll keep it moving and going throughout the whole game. So let's talk about their draw engines and filtering cards. First off, we have Green Memory Boost. Green Memory Boost is a really powerful card in the right that it will help us filter and search for cards that we need off the top of our deck very easily. That means, boys and girls, that we will have a better shot at grabbing cards we need. So definitely keep Green Memory Boost in mind. Next, we do have the all-powerful Beetlemon. Beetlemon really is great because when Digivolving, reveal 5 cards from the top of your deck, Add one Digimon with hybrid in its form or among among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. So allowing us to filter even deeper. That gives us a grand total of so far 6 searchers. But there's also, we have Betamon, revealing the top 3 cards of your deck. Add one green level 4 card or one green tamer among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. Another filter card, which really does help out. And then we do have Terriermon Assistant. So being able to Digiburst, which we will use with our babies, especially Yokomon, be giving us the ability to get 1 plus 2,000 to something. Really does help out. But being Terriermon Assistant, revealing the top card of your deck, add it to your hand if it's a green Digimon card. Otherwise, place it at the bottom of the deck. Really does help out because a draw engine in this game really does make or break this game. Because if you can't draw, you're not really going to be catching up if your opponent is a faster deck. So keep that in mind, that we just have ways of drawing cards when we need them. Next, let's talk about the control classification cards that we have. There are a lot of control, and some cards will double dip, and we'll express into them as we go. But the first off, the control cards we want to talk about is none other than our Palmon here from EX Collection 1. The reason why we play her is because on deletion, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP or less. Let's say we brought her up from raising from Mini for a quick aggression, and then swing in, delete. We now rest one of their 5k hybrids or anything else that has 5k. Now this Digimon is rested. One of our opponent's Digimon, after taking out a security, if it dies, which more than likely will because it's only 1,000 DP, its goal is death. But now allowing you to suspend their Digimon, we can swing in with our bigger Digimon, triggering other effects. So it does help out in the way of removing annoyance that we might come up and see. So other cards that really help for the control is the new Metokabu Terriermon. This Metokabu Terriermon, of course, can Digivolve on top of a Tamer, Green Tamer, as if it was a level 3 Digimon with a memory cost 2, which we don't mind. Or when Digivolving, if this has a hybrid in its trait or JP in its traits, this Digi-Evolution card, suspend one of your opponent's 6,000 or less DPs. That is huge for us because now being able to rest something, especially when Digivolving, is huge because now it's 6,000 DP. We can get into Ultimate afterwards, and then boom, we could definitely win the game that way. Because this card will Digivolve on top of JP for 1 while we have him up. So keep that in mind. It's just really good. Then we do have Argomon as a major tamer arrestor. This card really is a pain in the rear for a lot of decks to deal with. They don't have enough options to shut down the Argomon. This card can just come in, walk in, go Digisorption for 2, and then boom. When Digivolving, suspend all your opponent's tamers, and all turns, all your opponent's tamers cannot unsuspend. This, until they remove it, really shuts down their aggression plays because now they can't swing for game. They don't have ways, none of the tamers restand themselves. So this Argomon will just shut down the tamers hard, and now you have a chance of winning game very easily. And then we do have Ancient Troymon from BT6. Ancient Troymon is opponent's turn. When an opponent's Digimon attacks, suspend up to 2 of their Digimon without blocker. And that's huge for us because being able to shut down their blocker play, their swings for turns, especially restanders and stuff like that, really makes it for our advantage that Ancient Troymon is just going to keep up, which is huge for us. And then on deletion, you may play 1 green level 4 or lower Digimon with hybrid in its form from your hand without paying its memory cost. All the Ancients have this effect, and it's really nice to see it coming. Then we do also have Thunder Laser. This is a new 1-cost option. This adds to your hand in security, which we don't mind, but if you have a tamer with Digimon with hybrid or 10 warriors in its trait in play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon for 1 cost, guys. That means now we can swing in with our Ancient Beetlemon and just go to town with effects or any other hybrid we have just to remove threats off the board. 1 cost rest is huge for us this game set, and it means so much to us, and it's not even funny. Let's talk about the Accelerants of the deck. The deck Accelerants are basically cards that are going to help you get from point A to point B really quickly. So that means either getting to lethal, getting to Digivolve up for less cheaper cost. And we'll just go over from that. First off, we are playing Tentomon. When attacking, the next time one of your Digimon digivolves into a card with Insectoid or Ancient Insect in its traits, this Digimon reduce the memory cost of that Digievolution by 1. So keep that in mind, that we can reduce the cost by 1, and that could mean we can Digivolve into our Megas for even cheaper, and that's really going to get us the win there. So keep that in mind, that we just have really good solid Accelerants. And then we also have Rhino Kabuterimon, which really a great new card, because it also can Digivolve on top of your Tamer for Digicost 2, which we don't mind. It'll be a Digicost 1, which is ridiculous with JP. JP's so ridiculous. And then when attacking, if you have a hybrid or insectoid in its traits in this Digievolution card, this Digimon can Digivolve into a Digimon card with Insectoid or 10 warriors in his traits from your hand for a memory cost 3. If you have Tentomon underneath this, it'll be a Digicost 2. So keep that in mind. Then you can just Digivolve right into your Ancient Beetlemon for a really cheaper cost. So keep really paying attention to those kind of plays. Then we also have Argomon, as I mentioned. He's his own accelerator, because he's going to come in for 2 costs by himself. He'll rest even his own self just to prevent Tamers coming in, just to slow them down heavily, especially if they can't get over it. And even just buying yourself a turn could win you the game, because now they can't OTK you because all their Tamers are rested. So you just win that way. So keep that in mind. He's his own accelerator. Then we have Hidden Potential Discovered, which is a great card for us. I'm not even lying. Just being able to Digivolve our next Digievolution, reduce the cost by 5. That means any of our, Argomon, Ancient Troymon, or Ancient Beetlemons are basically free for evolution with just arresting something, even though you won't really do it much for Argomon. It's really for the Ancient Troy and Ancient Beetlemon. Just keep that in mind. I really do like that aspect. And then we also have Mimi. Mimi is massively one of the best tamers ever printed. And the reason is because as long as you have a 5 or higher green Digimon in play, which is extremely super easy, you can spend this tamer to hatch a Digimon or promote the Digimon out of raising, as long as it's a rookie or above. So now you're really set, because as long as you have the level 5, which is very easy in this deck, you're going to just spam out from the breeding area and make your opponent regret for days. And then I've been talking about JP this whole time. Being able to, when this tamer digivolves into a green Digimon, reduce the memory cost by 1. So everything that costs 2 are now 1 cost. And then also its inheritable is nasty, giving it piercing, which means you're just clearing out security no matter what you swing into. So if they have arrested Digimon, you swing in with Rhino. If it has a JP underneath it, now you can just Digivolve into Ancient Beetlemon, take out their Digimon, triggering other effects, and just go to town from there. Just keep that in mind. And then let's talk about the support class, and then we'll talk about the boss Digimon himself, Ancient Beetlemon, a little bit more in depth. Now, again, support classes kind of fall under this 2-cost plays, helps synergize the deck in some way, shape, or form. So we do play Argomon in here just because he is a quick 2-drop to be rested for hitting potential discovers, or even just quick evolutions or anything like that. Just he's great for a quick cost Digimon. We also play Terriermon to slow down blue cards, and that really does help us out, because as long as we can slow down blue or any other deck that's trying to use memory boosters or anything like that, we can slow the game down into a snail pace where they don't want to be, and they have to remove our Terriermon, and that's a waste of a kill spell because it's just a waste. Then we do also play Kabuterimon 1-cost evolve blockers. Just having blockers in this game still little bit matters. Just being able to take stuff out and just hold it out. Then you have Cherrymon, just being another big blocker, and it's just 2 costs evolve. So at least then, if they're swinging in and you can just block out for the 7, you might kill off one of their Digimon. Just keep that in mind. And then we also do have Arbormon being a final card choice. Being able to Digivolve on top of a Tamer as if it was level 3 is really nice, especially if we Digivolve on top of JP. That means he's a 1-cost to evolve, and we're just getting into our opponent for game. We also have Koromon and Yokomon as our babies. Let's talk about them. So Yokomon is first just to combo really nicely with our Terriermon Assistant. Being able to Digiburst it out, check the top card of our deck if it is a Digimon, green Digimon, add it to our hand. If not, bottom deck it. But giving our Digimon the ability to gain plus 2000, that might make our, 13s 15Ks, which might benefit us a lot better. We also have one backup Koromon. It's in here just to see what our next top deck might be. If it's a bad card, we'll just cycle it to the bottom. If not, if we have Terriermon Assistant out and we haven't used its Digiburst skill, we can swing in. If this Digimon is in a stack in itself, we swing in. Koromon triggers, look at the top. If it's a Digimon, leave it on top. If it's a Tamer, bottom deck it. Or an option, bottom deck it. Or you just don't activate Terriermon's effect and just leave it at that. So you could just be able to manipulate the stack in a way that might help you. So keep that in mind when we are building decks and stuff like that. Find out synergy with your eggs, and let's go over Ancient Beetlemon himself. Now let's talk about the boss himself. Ancient Beetlemon is really what the deck is synergized around, because when one of your Digimon with 10 warriors in his type or hybrid in his form deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle, survive, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. On deletion, you may play one green level 4 or lower card with hybrid and traits from your hand without paying its memory cost. So it has the on deletion with Ancient Troymon, but with the Ancient Beetlemon himself, he's able to do things your opponent is not ready for. And being able to swing in with piercing, taking out 2 security, 1 shut down completely, doesn't activate, and then you just swing in. That means you're closer to game because you just did 2 security checks, 1 completely shut off, the other just for lethal. And especially if you can get double Ancient Beetlemon, only 1 can swing in, and then you can just trigger twice, and that's 3 security for 1 pierce swing, which isn't nasty. The inheritable the effect happens first, then the pierce. Remember that. So you trash the 2 cards from the top, 1 card from the top first, then you deal the damage for normal calculations. So really, all in all, green has a great setup. This set is really good all in all, this set. And guys, let me know down in the comments what you think. Let me hear what you like about green ancient hybrids this time around, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.